We're going to have a brief discussion of open source software licenses and some of the legal issues involved and how you determine what kind of license is appropriate for your product. There are many kinds of open source software licenses, but they fall into two general categories: restrictive versus permissive. What you choose will depend on both the needs of your project and your philosophy. In a restrictive license, the software remains open, but there are strong limitations on any attempt to make closed products which depend on your software. Any changes to the code have to be made available to future recipients in a way they can rebuild their product. The most prominent example is the GPL, the General Public License from the Free Software Foundation, which is also known as a copyleft license. The Linux kernel is released under a GPL license. Permissive licenses, in general, don't require modifications and enhancements to become generally available, even if it's used in a proprietary product. Prominent examples are the BSD and the Apache licenses. So you have to be careful how you choose a license. It's a very important decision. It's good to have a thorough discussion early in the development of a project, because switching to a different license later can be rather difficult, especially if there are many contributors who have rights and have different opinions about what should happen. There is a lot of misinformation spread about open source software licenses. This falls under the general category of FUD, or fear, uncertainty, and doubt. This term actually goes way back, as far as the 1920s, but the FUD acronym seems to first be used in the 1970s. It means disseminating misinformation to influence people to avoid products and strategies or classes of products by appealing to their fear. Microsoft was widely accused of spreading FUD about Linux in the 1990s. However, most people, but not all, would agree that Microsoft has stopped doing so and is actually definitely employing open source software widely in their product base today. So why is the statements that FUD makes generally false? A prominent one is that OSS is a virus. In other words, if you use any open source software in your product, you will have to open up the source to your entire product. This is not true. Many prominent companies have learned how to both combine open and closed software in their offerings. There's a lot of experience with this, so it's really untrue. A second one is that open source software infringes on software and patent rights and forces you to give patent rights to others. Once again, you need proper legal analysis, but it certainly is not generally true. A third one is that open source products do not offer you help when things break or if you need a technical support. That's absolutely untrue. Many open source products are supported by serious, mature, long-living companies such as Red Hat Enterprise Linux, as well as many smaller organizations, and there's a lot of freely available help online and communities that can support you and help you solve your problems. And finally, open source software requires a lot of legal help to avoid pitfalls, such as the statements we just discussed, and so therefore it gets very expensive. This is nonsense. Even proprietary software requires significant legal analysis to properly avoid copyright and patent infringement and other problems. In fact, open source software sometimes makes it easier, since everybody can see what the actual software is. You can quickly catch any things which might present legal problems. So no matter what kind of product you will have to interact with lawyers. They may be on staff, they may be external, but somebody will have to make sure you're not violating copyrights and licenses. There are many kinds of licenses. You should make careful decisions, but once it's put in your DNA of the project, it's pretty straightforward to respect that. Part of this training is making sure developers understand what the do's and don'ts of working with open source software is, so they don't accidentally or ignorantly violate rules and incorporate things in their source, in their product, which shouldn't be there. So that's briefly just a few of the issues that are involved in open source licensing.